Today we're going to dive into understanding reflective surfaces by rendering a black vehicle on a white background. So continuing on in my Italian sports car exploration, I picked one of my earlier thumbnails to start expressing is a glossy black vehicle. As you can see, I'm starting to sketch out where the horizon line would be represented on the body side of the vehicle. This is important because reflective surfaces are in essence a mirror of their environment. And so how we distort those reflections tells us about what the surfaces are actually doing. So here I'm sketching a sphere and a cylinder, and I'm using that as my roadmap for the reflections on the vehicle. I've sketched a horizon line across each of these shapes. Everything below that horizon line will represent a ground tone, everything above a sky tone. And the highest point of contrast is going to be right at that horizon line. So I've even added a little bit more depth right at that horizon point. Now with the sky, the deepest blue is always directly above, while the horizon, the sky is nearly white, and that's because you're looking through more atmosphere at the horizon and less atmosphere directly above. Okay, so now that I have my roadmap, I'm going to start sketching out that horizon line on the vehicle. So every surface that's facing the ground will get the ground tone. Every surface that's facing the sky will get that sky tone. And how I delineate that horizon line is going to be how we define the contours of the vehicle. Now I have added some additional reflections on the hood, and the main reason I've done that is to give a little bit of delineation on the far side of the vehicle. Now it could be a nearby object, could be a mountain, could be something like that. Now I'm putting the main body side highlight through the door. That sort of wave shape. And that's telling me that there's this unique undulation in the front fender and again at the rear haunch as it transitions into the main fuselage. I've also placed a horizon line along the bottom edge of the glass to differentiate that glass plane from the upper door, adding some additional depth and darkness. And now I'm going in with my graphic layer. So I'm differentiating the wheels, tires, lighting, and intakes with a different shade. Now I'm adding an additional layer of contrast right at the horizon point. It's going to give it that glossy, chrome-like quality. So now I'm going in and adding that sky tone. So as I said before, the surfaces that are facing directly above are going to get the deepest blues, while the surfaces close to the horizon line are going to fade to white. Also adding some additional white fade at the very bottom just to give the car a sense that it's placed inside this white environment. Now I'm adding some wheel details, lighting details, and other detail elements just to help finish off the sketch. So what about a more aerial perspective? How does that work with reflections? Well, the principle is basically the same. You're going to map out a horizon line along the midpoint of the car. Everything that's facing the sky is going to get that sky tone. Everything that's facing the ground is going to get that ground tone. So once again, in the initial sketch, I'm mapping out where those reflections are going to be. This is also one of my earlier sexy sports car sketches, this time focusing on those wide, confident lights as the dominant element of the vehicle, and really trying to give the car a lighter, leaner, more agile proportion. Now I'm starting to lay out my reflections. So as you can see, everything that's facing the ground is getting that ground tone. And that's helping me to really define where those front and rear haunches are intersecting with the main fuselage of the body. Also putting a little bit of ground tone in the glass, again to differentiate the section of the glass versus the door. And along the front brow of the car. So that horizon line carries across the lower nose of the car. And also adding that little bit of reflection on the far side of the car. It's just a graphic element that helps delineate the far side of the vehicle. As you can see, I'm working my graphics directly into the main reflection layer. I'm going to add additional layers to help define the difference between graphic elements and reflections. So here I'm starting to do my wheel and tire graphic. Starting to darken those lenses. Those big confident eyes. I'm leaving a little bit of highlight along the tops of those lenses. Now I'm adding that little bit of extra contrast right at the edge of the horizon, using my technical pen just to give it that linear quality. Adding some additional white fade at the very bottom to help blend the car into its white environment. That again is also going to help me define those contours. Now I'm starting to add my sky tone. And since so much more of the car is going to be expressing sky tone, here I can really use that fade to white along the edges of the horizon to define those surfaces, especially in the hood where those fenders intersect with the main hood surface. This car is essentially a fuselage with 4 sort of egg-shaped pods around each of the wheels. You can see now I can really start to define those surfaces. Using my road map, every surface that's facing the deepest part of the sky is going to get that deep blue. Every surface that's facing towards the horizon is going to fade to a lighter shade, and then ultimately a white. Now I'm adding my wheel details, some lighting details, some additional reflectivity. Now you can really see how that lower door and the rear fender intersect each other. Lighting detailing is really important for helping to communicate expression in the face of the car, especially in the absence of a traditional grille. Now I'm just using my pencil tool and just highlighting some of those details and edges. So as you can see, using highly glossy, reflective surfaces on a black vehicle, you can communicate incredible amounts of shape and form.